In this edition of the Padre Socialist Republican Forum podcast series, Niall Bowen interviews Catherine Hutton about her experiences and contribution to the Derry branch of the Ireland Palestinian Support Committee.
Hello, and you're very welcome to this recorded interview on behalf of the Peter O'Donnell Socialist Republican Forum with myself, Niall Bowen, and this evening I'm joined by Catherine Hutton from the Derry IPSC. Catherine, thank you very much for agreeing to chat with us this evening. How's everything going up there in Derry?
Thank you, Niall. Yeah, everything's going grand, but very busy. We
I
have
can
been so
imagine.
busy, just busy, it just never seems to stop.
Yeah. Well, Catherine, tell me, can you tell us a wee bit about the Derry IPSC in particular, and how did you get involved with it?
Well, I went to Palestine in 2016, and prior to that, I'd been involved, I think it was around 2014, in the big assault on Gaza, and I'd been involved in fundraising initiatives. But in 2016, I got the chance to actually go out there, and when I came back, I joined IPSC. And then they approached me about setting up a branch in Derry. So started small, really. There would have been only been maybe 10 of us at the very most, at any given time. And we did the usual stuff, the stalls at the weekend, maybe once a month, and we did our BDS protests but we never really kind of grew as big as we are now. And then although in saying that, we had a lot of good speakers and screenings and things like that, and we made a lot of good contacts, whatever. But a lot of people came and went, and then when COVID hit, things just came to a standstill as everything did. So after COVID, then it was kind of, I never stopped being involved in it, but it was very difficult because everything had to be virtual. So the the couple of year or two after COVID was kind of quiet, trying to build things back up. Sometimes, we were having protests and there might have been six people there, and that's part of the game, and that's part of the way things are with Palestine solidarity. You'll get thousands out in the streets when something's happening, but as soon as it goes off the news cycle, they seem to just sort of drop away. There's no kind of, they don't stay engaged. But when the genocide started, on October 7th, we had we were inundated with requests about, what we were doing and are we organising stuff. And so we decided to have a public meeting. And from that, our membership has just grown, it's just mushroomed. I mean, again, some people have left, not everybody was, well, not everybody's equipped to deal with what we've had to witness over the past 16, 17 months. You know what I mean? Like, for everything I witnessed before that, I have nothing compares. Nobody can compare anything to this in their lifetime. So, since then, we've just been really proactive and dynamic, and we've tried to be leading the way in Derry in terms of, events, protests, BDS, and, just trying to keep people on board and trying to keep the public informed about what's going on, because what's been fed in the mainstream media is all propaganda. So, and a lot of people don't realize that, and also they don't realize what they're seeing on their social media also is algorithm based. So, and a lot of it's censored. So, it's very difficult to actually reach people sometimes. So, so as I say, from there, well, we've tried to keep ourselves neutral party wise. It's not easy. We have members from SDLP in our party. We have members from People Before Profit in our party. We have Socialist Republicans in our party. We have non-party people, and but we don't have Sinn Féin. So they decided they didn't want anything to do with us. So in a way, we've been kind of fighting a bit of a, I don't know what to call it. We shouldn't have to be fighting it, but we seem to be fighting against them in Derry. We're being pulled into this kind of tug of war. Who's the most pro-Palestinian? You know, as it is it Derry IPSC or is it Sinn Féin? So, and the message has been lost, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to kind of, be above all those divisions that originally or just historically have always been there. Sorry, you can
Yeah.
cut that out if you want.
No, you're grand. No, absolutely. No, that's very telling. And I suppose you've seen from the ground up in Derry, people have become motivated. Maybe people that haven't been particularly
Definitely.
interested in politics in the past, with the latest onslaught from Israel, they've been motivated and energized to get involved and to get organized in what is, traditionally a city with great activists
Mm-hmm.
come down the years. So you've probably seen a lot of people getting involved, even politically, and becoming more class conscious with this
Mm-hmm.
latest Israeli onslaught.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the people that have joined our group since October 7th, a lot of them would say now that they've been, you know, politicized in a way that they never would have been, just by sitting back watching the news or being on social media. And we've all learned from each other. We don't all agree on everything, but what we do agree on is that, when it comes to Palestine, it's Palestinians who choose what's right for them. It's Palestinians who decide what their future is. It's Palestinians who decide who governs them.
Yeah,
It's not for us or anybody or any party here or in the UK or anywhere else to dictate, what is right for them. So we've tried to use that as our guide because ultimately I think it's almost like white privilege. It's arrogant. It's very arrogant of us to talk to Palestinians as if we know better,
yeah,
and I think some groups come across that way,
yeah,
you know, and have done. I mean, see, as even though we're a branch of IPSC, and I don't mind saying this, and I don't care who hears it, but we wouldn't always agree with what IPSC itself in Dublin stands for.
yeah,
You know, we would be a lot more radical in terms of, what we see as being the north-south divide. They're very partitionist down there, so they would almost disregard us, in terms of, our input into things.
yeah,
So, like in terms of even something as simple as bringing an AGM, an IPSC AGM to the north, to Derry or to Belfast, no, there's no chance of it happening.
right, okay,
Why not?
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of, there's things that doesn't sit well with me, but and the other side of it is it works well to stay within the IPSC
yeah,
sort of framework.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of the branches themselves are really, really good.
yeah. No, I completely understand that, and it does, with views being liberalized, particularly with the pressure coming from the media, and it's very hard to keep big organizations all together. Um, Now, you've mentioned Sinn Féin previously, and I don't want to turn this into a Sinn Féin bashing interview, but it's something that we can't really avoid either. We're coming up now. This is February, so we're about a month away from St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up to the anniversary of what was, I suppose, a lot of people might have thought was a fiasco, which was hijacked in Belfast last year. Some people might have suggested that Sinn Féin hijacked it last year as they were going to the White House at the same time. Um, this year now, with Donald Trump being involved, it's becoming a sort of a tricky maneuver now for the mainstream political parties. What do you think? What would be your message to just to any mainstream party thinking of going to the White House for St. Patrick's Day this year? And what do you think they will do, given the growing pressure that's mounting on them?
Well, I'm just going to hark back to last year when we started the campaign last year for them not to go to the White House. And I mean, we had people like Omar Barghouti and Ali Abumina from Electronic Intifada who came out very clearly to us and said, no one should go to the White House. Absolutely no one. Omar Barghouti stood on the lecture stand at the Bloody Sunday lecture in Culterland in Derry. which was run by the Bloody Sunday Trust. And you, as you're probably aware, there's a split in there's the Bloody Sunday March Committee and there's the Bloody Sunday Trust. He stood at the lectern and said very clearly that no one should go to the White House. And he was speaking to people sitting in the room who did go and who were intending to go. And we had a small success in the sense that we convinced Colum Eastwood not to go. But it was easy for him because he was running for election and he knew it was, I don't want to be cynical, but he knew it was good for him to be seen to be, in the middle of a genocide, to be the one, standing up for Palestinians. But we give him his dues, like he did come out and he didn't go. Um, but this year, now last year we took a lot of flack. Really, we really did. And we took most of the flack from IPSC in Dublin, who accused us of singling out Sinn Féin when our petition last year was aimed at all parties, all parties. And we were basically, I mean, we were taken to a directors' meeting. Basically, they had get a dressing down about, singling out Sinn Féin. I don't know what the balance or the structure is in IPSC in Dublin, but it made me feel like, hold on a second, who's telling you to say that? Who's calling the shots? So anyway, this year, myself and Paddy McNichol from IPSC Mid Ulster have launched the petition again, and basically we're calling on, all politicians and parties on the island of Ireland. We're not last year Act or Uplift, that petition site, actually partitioned the petition. And that sounds really strange, but they did. Anybody that was voting in the north, there was two separate pages. It was absolutely crazy. So we ended up, and it was really, really, and it made things really hard. So this time we've organised an uplift petition, and no, sorry, Act Now NI. So they have organised the petition first, and it's running really smoothly. But we need to get more traction, and we're hoping to get an email campaign set up soon, this week. And what we're saying again is, there just is absolutely zero excuses for going, especially this year, even more so because of what Trump has said about Gaza and what he is saying to Israel, basically, gloves off, do what you want, you know, I'm not going to hold you back. And he's already sent them, more bunker buster bombs. So, there's even more reason. And they go and they stand in front of a man he's a convicted felon. You know, he doesn't give a toss about them, and the chances of them actually doing business with them is highly, it's remote, if anything. So Claire Hanna from the SDLP has come out and said, we're not going. So fair dues to her. Today, I read in the Belfast Live that Michelle O'Neill and Emma Little Pengelly have said that they're hoping to get an invitation. So they're actually begging for an invitation. How shameful is that? They're actually begging for an invitation. I mean, it's shame enough if they go, but it's even more shameful that they're sitting there with their hands out saying, please, can we go? So we're just decided this year. We had the kid gloves on last year and we tried the nice way, but we're not being nice this year.
Yeah.
So what we've done, Niall, and it's going to be released in probably within a week. On Saturday there was, we did videos, myself and a few others, outside the Sinn Féin offices, outside the DUP office, outside the UUP. We didn't do the SDLP because they've agreed not to go, and there's no alliance representation. And what we did was we basically videoed ourselves outside it, and we held up a poster, read, a piece, just basically saying to them, look, this is going out on social media, and this is going to be publicised. So, this is your chance now to do the right thing.
Oh, that's brilliant. I've always despised Irish politicians going to America for St. Patrick's Day. I always thought it was stupid, personally, but I think it's disgraceful
It's
that they're going.
intolerable now.
It's completely intolerable. It's embarrassing as well, to be honest, and especially when they're putting a hand out and asking to be invited over is even more disgraceful. Um, at the weekend there on Saturday, which was the 15th of February, we saw the release of 369 Palestinian captives in exchange
Mm-hmm.
for three Israelis following days of tense negotiations. Some Palestinians that have been released are unable to return home, um, which has effectively made them stateless.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, would you think does the Irish government have a duty to offer asylum to these detainees, and do you think they will?
I think absolutely 100%, but whether they will or not's another question. I just think Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil together have gone back on everything they promised. They've gone back on the Occupied Territories Bill and the Settlements Divestment Bill. That's all been pushed away since Trump came into power. So I would have very, very little hope that the Irish government will do anything, bar maybe letting in some children for operations. I mean, the prisoners that have come out, I mean, I found myself at times, I just could not even watch the footage because it was so horrifying. There was a man come out and he was covered in sores and he lifted up his jumper and he literally was just skin. You could nearly see through his skin. He was so thin, you know. And then I put up a post because I thought this is incredible. Just the comparison between him and one of the released Israeli prisoners who were uh, up on an aircraft being taken back into Israel and with the headphones on and him smiling and is healthy and was obviously well cared for and was well treated as is Muslim tradition and was not abused. He didn't look any worse for wear from when he was taken. And I thought, that that just says so much about Israeli society, about them people, because they are absolutely they're animalistic. It's nearly like you know, uh, just this sort of rabid frenzy they have, and some of the things they've done. I mean, we had Iyad Burnett. I don't know if you heard of Iyad, have you? Iyad Burnett from
Um,
Billeen. He spoke in Derry last night, and he's been a human rights activist and a sort of popular resistance against the wall in his village in Billeen for, I don't know, about 30 years. And he has three sons who have been imprisoned. Um, the third son, he was arrested four times during the genocide. Uh, he was shot. What was it happened? He was shot in the thigh, and they denied an ambulance. They denied treatment. They eventually got him to hospital in Ramallah, but they didn't have the expertise because the bullet had hit a nerve in his thigh. And by the time they managed to get him to a hospital in East Jerusalem, he's lost the power of the leg, and he's only like 16 or 17. That's just incredible. It's really, really sad. And he said, basically, he says, I don't know if I'm going to be going home, if they're going to be there. He says they literally walk into his house in the middle of the night and just grab them out of their beds, you know. And he's got quite a few children, and they're nearly all boys, and for three teenagers, they've gone through so much. And he said, like, literally, the way he described last night for us in the prison cells, they would put 16 prisoners in the one cell. We're talking about 8 by 8, right? So it's really tiny. No windows, strip them of all their clothes, no water, no sanitation, no food, nothing, right? And then eventually, when they decide, it takes their whim, um, they let them have a shower. So they get 16 of them get 10 minutes to have a shower, right? And this is maybe once in a month. And the food is like they've obviously done something to the food, before they hand it into them, you know. And his son says, like, it's not even that his son says to him, like, it's not even that they're not feeding us. We can deal with the hunger and we can deal with the cold. It's the humiliation, not being allowed to use a toilet on your own, not being able to wash yourself, and just being totally stripped of all your dignity. And he says when the soldiers or the prison officers used to come to the door, they'd all be wearing masks because of the smell, you know. And it's just horrendous. Like, I mean, it's horrendous. And them young men are coming out and, why wouldn't they resist? I mean, who wouldn't? What do they expect? It almost to me seems like a complete nonsense that they think by terrorizing and brutalizing and humiliating and completely stripping people of their dignity is going to stop them resisting, that it's going to make them just sit down and say, okay, you won. It's not going to happen. Like, I mean, he said it last night. He says, 16 months in Gaza. He says, those people are still there. They're not going anywhere. You
Yeah,
know,
even if they're offered a new house at the
no,
speed or whatever other nonsense
they don't want it.
that's
They don't want it. They
that's
just,
coming out of Washington.
yeah, that's it. And another very sinister thing that's actually happening in Gaza is the patients that are being allowed out for treatment, they've been allowed maybe one adult guardian with them, and they're being made to sign paperwork to say that they can't return.
Yeah.
So they're splitting families up. Now, it's not legal. It's not legal what they're doing, but what is legal?
Well, the law, the rules-based order that the UN often touted as the reason for their existence seems to have gone completely out the window, not just in the past couple of years, but in the past couple of decades as well. I know
Yeah,
we showed a documentary film here in Dungannon a few years ago about the right to return and the protests that happen every year. And there was a lot of information there in regards to the ammunition being used by the Israeli snipers and the bullets that are being used. And when they're hitting the limbs of the Palestinians, what it's doing is they're specially designed to go in and shatter the bones in so many
yeah,
places.
yeah,
So resulting in, and that's why you get so many amputees um,
yeah.
in Palestine.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
and
because I
it's so
remember when we
sinister.
visited Bethlehem, we went to Jesha refugee camp, and they were telling us, like there was a particular brigade that, Israeli army brigade that was sent under the camp, and the commander at the time, I think it might have been in the 90s or 2000, early 2000s, but that was his orders was like, see when when he sent the soldiers out, he says they're to be put in wheelchairs. Basically that's what you're aiming for, to disable them.
Yeah, it's awful stuff. Um, Look, Catherine, we'll wrap it up. Just one final question is, can you tell us of any upcoming events and any organizing that you're doing and how people can get involved or get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment we're trying. It's been very hard over the past 16 months to actually strategize. Everybody's had to be reactive because of what's happening. So we're hoping now, what do we see? I'm trying to think. Well, the petition's really foremost in our minds, so we're trying to really push that up until St. Patrick's Day. And then coming after that, we're hoping to get up and running with Anti-Apartheid Week, which starts on March the 21st. So we're going to what we're trying to do in Derry is try to build a local anti-apartheid campaign so that we can get local businesses on board. Meeting with council on Monday with their BDS working group, who this is the first meeting. So we're trying to get them on board too in those regard, helping to publicise it because they have a BDS policy. That's their corporate policy, to support it. So
Yeah.
we're just trying to make them actually do something. And apart from that, there, I think if people keep an eye on our Facebook, Derry IPSC, and IPSC Derry Instagram, and that's updated every day, and we'll always have the events up there and anything, screenings or protests or anything. We do have a weekly, if anybody is going to be in Derry watching this, we do have a weekly Bridgel, which happens every Friday at the Peace Bridge in Derry, and we keep that going no matter how few people are there. People are always there for half an hour from 5:30 to 6 every Friday.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And you can get access to that petition on the Facebook page as well, can you?
Yes, the Facebook is pinned to the top of the Facebook page and the Instagram page. And if they're on ACT or if they're even the IPSC Mid Ulster page as well,
Yeah.
because we're kind of doing it as a joint thing. So
Brilliant.
And please tell people to share it as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Catherine, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me this
Thank you.
evening, and hopefully see you soon at
Yeah.
one of the rallies.
That was Niall Bowen speaking with Catherine Hutton from the Patrick Socialist Republican Forum. Thank you.